In this video, we're going to have a look at some calculations that involve earning income that include the payment of overtime. When a worker is paid a wage and that worker works more than the regular hours per week, then they will normally be entitled to an overtime payment on any additional hours worked. So overtime is a type of penalty rate that is paid for workers for working outside their normal conditions or outside their normal hours. Overtime is normally calculated as follows. So you can have time and a half, and that's where a person is paid 1.5 times their normal hourly rate, or in some cases it might be double time, when a person is paid twice the normal hourly rate. So whether it's time and a half or double time will depend on the conditions in which the person is employed. But a worker who is working additional hours to their normal hours that are on a wage will normally be entitled to overtime. So let's have a look at some examples of calculations that will calculate an overtime amount to be included in a person's wage. In our first example, Xavier is paid $15.80 per hour in his job as a plumber. Part A of the question is asking us to calculate Xavier's hourly rate of pay if he is paid time and a half overtime. So to calculate the overtime rate, we take the normal hourly rate and multiply it by 1.5. So substituting in Xavier's rate of $15.80, we're going to times it by 1.5, and that is going to equal $23.70. So if Xavier is working overtime at time and a half, his hourly rate is going to be $23.70 per hour. Now part B of the example is asking us to calculate how much Xavier will be paid if he works 40 ordinary hours and 5 hours overtime. So let's have a look at how we complete this calculation. So total pay is going to equal 40 times ordinary pay rate plus 5 times his overtime rate. So that is going to equal 40 times his ordinary rate of $15.80 plus 5 times his overtime rate of $23.70. So that's going to mean in total Xavier is working or earning $750.50 in a week, where he's earning 40 hours ordinary and 5 hours overtime. So that's an example of calculating someone's pay rate that includes overtime, and then calculating how much they're going to get paid per week based on hours working that include overtime. So now we'll have a look at a second example. In this example, Graham is employed as a factory worker and gets paid $18.20 per hour for a 38-hour week. If Graham works overtime, the first 6 hours of that is paid at time and a half, and then the remainder of any hours in addition to that 6 hours overtime is paid at double time. So we want to calculate Graham's pay in a week during which he works 48 hours. So to complete the calculation, we might start off by calculating Graham's overtime rate if he's on time and a half, or his rate if he's on double time. So his ordinary rate is going to be $18.20. His time and a half is going to be $18.20 times 1.5, totaling $27.30 per hour. Now his double time is going to equal $18.20 times by 2. So his double time rate is going to be $36.40. So now we know how much Graham gets paid if he's on ordinary time, time and a half, or double time. So we can use those pay rates to be able to calculate his total pay. Before we calculate the total pay though, we need to work out how many hours he's getting paid on each of those. So his normal pay week is 38 hours, so he's going to have 38 hours ordinary time. Then for the first 6 hours after that, he is going to get paid time and a half. So because he's working an additional 10 hours, 48 hours in total to his 38-hour week, he is going to work an additional 10 hours. So the first 6 is going to be paid at time and a half, and then the last 4 is going to be paid at double time. So we can check that we've accounted for all of the hours. So 38 plus 6 is 44, plus 4 is 48. So we know that we've correctly allocated the hours: 38 hours ordinary, 6 hours time and a half, and then 4 hours double time. So now that we know the pay rate and the hours worked for each pay rate, we can go ahead and calculate his total pay. So his total pay is going to equal 38 times ordinary plus 6 times 1.5 rate plus 4 times his double rate. So substituting in those rates is going to be 38 times $18.20 plus 6 times $27.30 plus 4 times $36.40. And working that out, that brings us to a total payment of $1,001. So because it is a word question, we should write a word answer. So Graham will be paid $1,001 if he works 48 hours per week. So there are a couple of examples of how we can calculate how much someone is earning based on them being paid an overtime amount in addition to their normal wages.